Good evening.
Look
Welcome to
who it
5-8,
is.
everybody. LB, lovely to see you. How you doing?
I'm well. It's good to see you. How you doing? How was your week off?
It was nice. I kind of was cryptic in my post and I said I was working on a project, but my project was that I was on vacation for a week.
Yeah.
So yeah, we went to Las Vegas and we went to the Grand
Nice.
Canyon.
And how was the Grand Canyon?
It was well named. It's well named. What I found out is that originally the name for Grand Canyon was Big Canyon.
Oh,
And then this guy named Powell said, nah, it's not Grand. It's Grand
not
Canyon.
grand enough. Yeah.
Also, they don't use the article. They don't say the Grand Canyon. They're just like, when you go down to Grand Canyon, and then when you leave Grand Canyon, they don't use the. So it's like Batman or Ukraine. Like people use the and they shouldn't.
They shouldn't.
It's just Grand Canyon. That's what I found out. That's what I learned.
That's a big lesson. That's good. I'm glad
Yeah.
you got some education on your vacation.
It was very nice. It was, and
I actually had a
spoiler alert,
working
it's
time.
nice.
I
Grand
was the
Canyon's
one
cool.
working. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you've been working. I'm sorry.
I've been working, which is
Yeah.
good. All right. What are you drinking tonight?
I am back in New York, so I'm drinking my standard issue Manhattan.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm having water because I'm in California and there is none. So this is actually more valuable and precious than your Manhattan.
That is debatable, but okay. We'll buy it. So we've been off for 2 weeks. Every time I go on vacation, it's like you can set a clock to it,
Yeah.
And I'm on Friday, and of course that's when I said I'm not going to be on Twitter. I was on Twitter the entire time. I watched the hearing on my phone in my hotel room at the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
So because I streamed it, it doesn't count in the 14 million, however many millions of people watched it.
Yeah, a lot of people. But also you left on the day Roe was overturned.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to catch up on.
Yeah. Too much almost.
Too much.
So thanks everybody for joining.
It?
We got a great guest tonight. I'm excited to bring her on.
Yes.
Yeah, we can't reveal who she is yet because I don't know. We like to build suspense. You could tell by looking at the book behind me,
Yeah, if people can zoom in, maybe.
Yeah. So we want to get started? Or,
let's get started, everybody. We do 5 segments, 8 minutes each. If you're new to what we do, and I start this clock, and it does sound like an air raid siren when it goes off. And then we stop talking about that topic and we move on.
Okay.
Here we go. First topic, be beast. Be beast. That's actually your fantastic
That's the hashtag.
Yeah. Because I was talking, I really went for it with Donald again. I haven't done that for quite a while, but it just, when Cassidy Hutchinson gave her testimony and we saw the the information terrorists, right, and everyone else in that sort of right media sphere just go batshit crazy over her descriptions of him. It was so over the target for what actually embarrasses and shames them that I couldn't resist to lean in and do my lean in and go for it there, because I get really, really frustrated with people saying these are shameless people. They can't be shamed. Absolutely, they can be shamed. These are the same people with the hoods that we and the burning crosses that we shamed under their rocks once. If those folks can be shamed, this generation can be shamed. They really can. It's just about our understanding of shame. What shames us are hypocrisy, lying, criminality. Those are things that for us, we just, oh my gosh, we think it's just so awful and shameful and horrible language and just crassness and cruelty and crudeness. That doesn't shame them. Everybody's right. That doesn't. What shames them is their internal self being reflected back at them. All those things I just said, what shames them is being projected as a loser, as an out of control animal, right? This is the stuff that originally caused injury to the folks in that great horde that Donald has been Pied Pipering, right? They just, they're just it's the great, what Sandy Bacon calls the great unbelonging, right? These are people who at some point felt that injury, that fracture, that they couldn't sit at the cool kids table, or they're artless, or they said things that they didn't know were painful. And they, were made to feel judged for being beastly, quite frankly. So that's why, to me, that's why she got under that skin. It wasn't just that it was a distraction away from the real crimes. Of course, it served that purpose for the whole media ecosystem to be focused on whether or not he grabbed the steering wheel, or whether or not he, lunged and tried to choke someone, and, pooping his diaper like he always does, and throwing plates and doing all of that. Yeah, that's all distraction stuff, but it's also embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing. And they know it's embarrassing. And they're so fused with him, with their identity, that they don't want anyone to think that they're all a bunch of apes, which they are. They, he's throwing ketchup on the walls and reaching for steering wheels and trying to choke people. They're crazed, attacking Capitol Police with their spears, their homemade weapons, because they're in their cosplay. And then as soon as they get in that Capitol building, they shit and piss everywhere. They're apes. Yeah. So I'm all in for calling him a beast and pointing out that he's a beast, and to keep poking at this and poking at this and poking at this, because it embarrasses them. And it's okay to embarrass these people. It really is. I don't know any other way for us to move forward other than to get them pushed back underneath their rocks. Let them crawl back underneath it. We're not going to get rid of them, but we can shame them back into hiding. We can make it so embarrassing for them to stand next to him. What, you're going to defend that? Yeah. You're going to defend that beast? You throw your plate, you throw your food like an animal? Okay. All right. We'll call you animals then.
And the plate that contains enough ketchup to cause a stain on the wall.
What kind of lunch are you eating at 74 years old? That's the other thing, is like, don't tell us you're not a toddler when you eat toddler food.
He does eat toddler food. It's true.
He eats toddler food.
Yeah. It must be the small hands.
Must be.
The small hands.
Be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, and then lo and behold, after that that's why it was so like, and the moneyed people. Donald needs those American oligarchs. He does. He needs the foreign oligarchs. He needs people who, and there's a lot of them here in Los Angeles that pretend to be liberal, but they're not. They're transactional individuals that have vast wealth, and they're concentrated at the top of the food chain when it comes to our society, and they don't want to be associated with that either. They don't want to be the people going to parties with a grandpa who wears a diaper and throws his food and says, "I'm the president," and grabs the steering wheel. Yeah. Nobody wants to be associated with that. Has any kind of need for them to have a place in social society. That kind of kicks you out of that. You all of a sudden, you don't want to be associated with that. Trust me. There's a lot of secret people been supporting this all along and are ready to support the next, fuckers that get in there, and they're ready for the fascism because they think they're going to really benefit from it even more. They a lot in Silicon Valley, a lot in Hollywood, a lot in New York, in finance, a lot. But they don't want to be standing next to some beast.
No,
they don't. So I think we should all be beast, make him be beast, lean in on the beast. And now we know she was telling the truth. Secret Service came out today, went on the record, a couple of sources. I don't know if they put their names, but they made it known that they're not people who are close to the so-and-so. They're former Secret Service agents. And they said, or maybe even active, and they said, yeah, that happened. He did lunge. He lunged all over the place. He was an out-of-control beast. He's an out-of-control beast. Okay, that's my rant.
I like the rant. I like the out-of-control beast. But when I imagine him lunging, I imagine that the car seat prevents him from going too far, right? Because isn't he in a car seat?
Yeah.
He's a little car strap. Does he have is he eating like a biscuit? Is he teething? Like, what's his issue?
He's got definitely did not have his pacifier.
Yeah. This is your alpha male. This is your king, MAGA. This is your king. This guy, lunging for the steering wheel. Can he even drive a car? I don't think that he can. I don't know that
walk down a ramp.
Well, that, yeah. But I mean, he grew up in New York City and was driven everywhere. I honestly, his brother flew airplanes, but I don't know that Donald knows how to operate an automobile.
Probably not.
Yeah. I mean, he sat behind that truck that time, right?
He did, and he like a little child.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he was playing, and he thought that, and that embarrassed them.
Right. It's
This is
interesting.
embarrassing behavior.
It's interesting how much of a nerve this particular testimony seems to have hit. Because I don't think, I mean, we who know what happened and believe it all, I don't think that this testimony was any more, oh my God, than anything else. I mean, I've been, oh my God, for five and a half years at this point. Like, oh my God, he's a criminal and you allowed him to be in the White House, whatever. But this testimony seems to have struck a nerve. And I think it is what you say, LB. I think it is the ketchup. I think it is the lunge. I think it is, I'm the fucking president. And they didn't say outright what he did, if he lunged at clavicles or if he just tried to punch him in the fucking throat, but he did something that was not good.
He
And
had a
these people are
toddler
embarrassed.
tantrum.
Yeah.
So I want to just button this because it's pushing us into our next segment.
It is.
The reason why, and this actually takes us into our next thing. I'm just going to go right into the next 8 minutes. The reason why is because we finally got the behind closed door behavior from someone behind the closed doors, putting their face to it and saying it out loud and on the record. All we've had all these years is either Maggie Haberman whispering all this stuff or a source, the Jake Shermans of the world and the Michael Schmitz of the world sticking their face on TV going, sources say, feeding us palace intrigue without, and we knew what his behavior was, but it all left it up to be able to knock down. Not this woman. This young woman was in the room every time because she worked for Mark Meadows, who doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground.
Yeah, it's true. And that's what I want to talk about. This is the thing that really got me like watching this. Okay. Mark Meadows, as you recall, we were talking about this today during the COVID thing, when Trump had COVID, there was the picture of him that I did not find. And I might not have the rights to anyway, but everyone knows the picture. He's just sitting there with his head in his hands like this, like, oh my God, right? Yeah. On January 6th, Mark Meadows had a fucking meltdown. Everyone's seen The Big Lebowski. Okay, remember how they fuck up and Lebowski and Walter have the telephone that they've been given, and the telephone keeps ringing, and they're at the bowling alley and the phone keeps ringing, and they're not going to answer the phone because they know that they fucked up and they have nothing. They have no excuse for why they fucked up. They just fucked up, right? So they're just going to let the phone ring. This is Mark Meadows, except he's nowhere near as cool. He's just sitting in his office, on the couch, doom scrolling, ignoring everybody. Probably Trump read him the riot act and said, if you bother me, I will kill you, or some words to that effect, that scared him. And Mark Meadows just shut the fuck down. Okay. And I think this is important to remember who this guy is personality wise. Now, Hugo Lowell, when he was on my podcast, told me that there's a story circulating in the White House press corps that Mark Meadows, after he left Congress, wanted a high-paying consultant job on K Street. And he floated this rumor that he was being considered to be chief of staff, hoping that that rumor would elevate him in the eyes of these hiring managers at these fancy lobbyist firms on K Street.
Okay.
What happened was the Trump people, who were desperate for a chief of staff, because no smart person would take the job that meant you're probably going to go to prison.
No.
They were like, oh, he wants to be the chief of staff? Great, he can do it. So he comes in. This man is a moron. He is a stupid person. He thinks dinosaurs and humans same time. Like, he's dumb.
I know.
Okay. He couldn't even do voter fraud right. I mean, he registered to vote in a trailer park in a state where he does not live. Who does that? Like, if you're going to do voter fraud, at least, Mehmet Oz that shit, figure it out. Herschel Walker it, for God's sake, Mark Meadows. But no, he's probably going to go to prison just for that, which is just, why? What are you doing, you idiot, right? But he's there melting down, okay? And everyone is talking to Cassidy Hutchinson, who is his executive assistant, okay? And why are they talking to her? Because she runs the whole fucking country. This 25-year-old woman who is very competent, for the last couple of months of the presidency, has basically been running the entire fucking country, because the chief of staff is on his he's incapable.
He's a
She
moron.
basically said the 25th Amendment for the chief of staff, and Cassidy is in charge, and they all fucking know it. That's why she had to be in all the meetings. That's why Cipollone was talking to her and not to Meadows. He says to her, don't let Trump go to the thing.
Yeah, it's true.
Because he knows Meadows is a fucking...
Oh my God, you're right.
He's an automaton. He's nothing. He's a nebbish. He's
She
a
was
fucking
running
loser.
the country.
She's running everything. Okay? That's her. That's who this is. And anybody watching this that's ever been in corporate America at all knows situations like this where there's some white guy, some old white guy in a fancy suit who's a fucking lummox moron. And there's an executive assistant woman 2 paces behind him all the time that does all the work and gets none of the credit.
Yeah.
That happens all the fucking time.
All the time.
Okay?
Oh my God. I mean, you're describing the plight of the American woman right now en masse.
Well, it happens all the time. It's embarrassing how much it happens. Okay. And it happened in January of 2021. I think that's my read of this. Cassidy Hutchinson was running the fucking country because Trump would issue orders to Mark Meadows, who didn't know what to do, and then she would make sure that everything got done. Doesn't that? Everyone watched her testify. Wouldn't we hire her to be your assistant? Of course we would. She's really competent.
We actually got the president to testify. We didn't know. We didn't know it.
So that's the deal, okay? And
that's so funny.
It's true.
It's true.
It's true. Mark Meadows is he might as well be a cat or a dog, or a stuffed animal. He can't do anything. He can't do anything.
No, he couldn't. He was like this. And he has always has 3 or 4 pairs or maybe 8 pairs of glasses on his head. He's got his reading glasses, couple pairs of those, long distance. You're not going to be able to see any more, dude, because it's your brain. You don't have knowledge. It doesn't matter how many glasses you have in your hands and on your head. It's not going to help you with your brain. You're dumb. It's that's not how it works. You don't all of a sudden see all the answers.
And he knows he's fucked too. Meadows, he knows he's fucked. It's like that meme that they do where they close in on him and then like Sound of Silence plays like the end of The Graduate. That's Mark Meadows all the fucking time.
All the time.
And look, I don't want to pick on the guy. It's okay to be stupid. It's okay to crumble under pressure. I don't know that I wouldn't have crumbled under pressure, but if you're going to be the chief of staff of the fucking president of the United fucking States of America, maybe don't be like that. Maybe be able to know what the fuck you're doing. Maybe
especially if the president is a beast.
Yes, you're even more obligated. We have a president throwing his fucking ketchup at the wall who can barely, shitting himself and all this other stuff, who doesn't understand how any of this shit works.
Yeah.
We have a chief of staff who is completely inept to the point where he even fucked up the J6 stuff. He gave them just enough information to get him in trouble, but not enough to save himself. And now everyone hates him. He's so dumb. I almost feel bad for him. Almost.
Well, if you're going to Forrest Gump your way into a job, that's not the one.
Exactly.
That's just the wrong, even Forrest Gump would have been like, yeah, I never did that. Yeah. You're not going to pull footage of me doing that.
One more thing before the timer.
I knew a little better. I was a little savvier than that.
One more quick thing before we hit the get to the timer. Okay.
Okay. The timer's coming.
The timer's coming. Okay. There's this. I don't like to say Opus Dei because it's like everyone thinks of the Da Vinci Code and rolls their eyes. But there are these radical Catholics who are influenced by that Catholic Information Center in DC. That is a very powerful little subset. Okay. Yeah. Bill Barr is in there. This Cipollone guy is part of that group. Ginny Thomas is part of that group. All the Conways. Okay. The guy who was Cuccinelli, the guy that was the Homeland Security, he's in with that group. All these Supreme Court justices are in that group. None of those people are going to go to fucking prison because of this J6 thing. You watch. All of the people that are doing the smart things are them. All the people that are doing the dumb things are not them. Okay. You can even look at it factionalized that way. They know how to survive and they seem to have help with how to do that. So
yes, they do.
Patsy Baloney. We'll see if he actually shows up to testify. I don't think he's going to tell us anything. I think it's going to be, unless he asked them to do it, because I know there's that,
Look,
theory that
he's a shit consigliere as well. Like the testimony just on him running around going, every crime, we're all going to get charged with every crime. And still the beast was lunging for the steering wheel, and the Tony Ornato, who seems to also be a pathological liar on top of everything else. We got a lot of disease going on that we're still, grappling with.
It's true.
All right, but I did promise everybody a karaoke night tonight.
Are we going to do karaoke? Yeah, we're going to do it. I was going to say Vegas, okay? Because I was in Vegas. Ornato, and I tweeted this. Ornato sounds like one of those shitty hotel casinos way off the strip. Okay.
I missed that tweet.
I can't get into Bally's. Forget Mandalay Bay
or the Ornato.
Bellagio. We're going to go to the Ornato.
Bring your blue light.
It's still like $1 a hand, like that kind of thing. Like that's the Ornato. That's what we're dealing with.
Okay. That fits.
All right. Yeah. We're ready? Ready to go?
Yeah. Let's all sing. Here we go.
Here we go.
Listen to testify, and Donald's retrogrades. Your former boss refused to appear. Ornato and Cipollone might just as well be mimes. All of Donald's Goombas quake with Cassidy. It's such a mobbed up world. Everyone is so untrue. Cassidy, you spoke about a girl. Careful, he might strangle you. He can throw the ketchup. He can hang my pants. He can end democracy on the flimsiest pretense. He's got judges on the take and justice on the fence. He's mob. He's mob. He's mob. The lights are on, but no one's home. In Garland's DOJ. All we have is pissless trader's wrath. But she's pals with Ginny, and she loves the overstay. The truth is ever ruled by psychopaths. Cassidy, it's such a mobbed world. Everyone's under the cool. Cassidy, the West is yet unfound. Sadly, we have only you.
Okay.
Yeah. Shout out to my wife who spent all afternoon doing her Billy Joel impression.
It's just wonderful. It was perfect karaoke. Perfect.
Yeah. Thanks, Steph. Okay. Back to the comments. Okay. Oh, now that song is going to be in everybody's head for the rest of the week. Thanks, LP.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was too perfect. I couldn't avoid it. All right. Let's bring on our guest.
We're bringing on our guest. Our guest is the author of a very fantastic book, which I have behind me, Into the Raging Sea. Everyone, if you haven't read this book, it's really, really good. And she's delightful and knows so much about so many different things. Every time I talk to her, she's onto something different. And I'm like, I can't even keep up with all the stuff that you know. Rachel Slade. It's so good to have you on. How are you?
Hey, hi. Yay, it's great to be here. Oh my God, I wish I'd prepared a song. I am so sorry.
We don't require
next time I will.
songs. We require cocktails maybe, but no songs.
Yeah, you know, in the time I was in your waiting room, my glass is empty, Greg.
You know, we have to get on. Our green room staff is a problem. It's really a problem.
I need a Cassidy is what I need.
You need
You
need the president. Yeah, to bring you make cocktails.
Exactly. We all do.
Yeah, and lint roll you. Yeah.
That was such a brilliant deduction. I mean, now I know. Now we know who was running the country. But that's why it was functioning. Like I was sincerely convinced that something was just going to collapse all around us. But no, it was in the very capable hands of a 25-year-old.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. Yeah.
It's all madness. This is someone that no one knew existed like 6 months ago, right?
Right.
That's the other thing. It's a new character right at the end of the movie, and yet it totally makes sense somehow. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, no, but I'm thrilled we've gotten a chance to meet her, and let's find more Cassidys. Where are they? Let's keep looking. I've got binders full of them, by the way.
I wonder if her parents like the Grateful Dead, and why do all these right-wing people like the Grateful Dead? Like Tucker Carlson likes the Grateful Dead, and Michael Caputo likes the Grateful Dead. And what's with all these right-wing people liking the Grateful Dead? Do they just not get it?
Posers. They think it makes them cool to do that, but they are not. I refuse. I refuse to accept that they know the Grateful Dead, understand the Grateful Dead, listen to the Grateful Dead, other than to try to be cool. And it falls flat. So no.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Not my Grateful Dead. No,
you know, I've always thought that, you know, what's happening or what happened to us, meaning Trump, was just, you know, the natural end of that culture war, right? That 1969, the jocks versus the nerds versus the hippies, right? That's what happened. And so, you know, these guys embraced the hippie music to try to look cool, but, you know, they were not. So now they're really uncool. They're total losers. They're right wing. They went with the whole Reagan thing. They played it out. And now all they have left is are these like semblances of hippie coolness left, right? They cloak themselves in that to make them feel somehow American, somehow still connected to who we are and what we do.
It's a libertarian thing too, which was all just horseshit. I'm convinced as well. You know, it was just made up stuff. We, you know, like we're going to make this thing up, and it's just about us being contrarian and hating everything, and that somehow makes us more into liberty than anybody else. So,
well, I'll tell you, all the prep school kids who I grew up with, they all listened to the Dead. They all listened to JT. You know, they all went to those camps, right, with the Native American names. Not a Native American one among them, but you know, they all went to those camps, and they would sit around the fire and strum bad guitar and listen to Grateful Dead.
It's so depressing. And
we have to reclaim Cassidy, the song. That's all I'm saying. We need to reclaim it. We got to reclaim it. All right. So,
what do we want to talk
Rachel,
about?
you've been on the podcast, and you've written stuff on my Prevail site, and I associate you with shipping because you opened my mind to this whole world that I frankly had never thought about before. And
there it
is.
is.
Totally fascinating, and too much actually in my brain. Like I start to be like Mark Meadows after a while. Like my brain can't handle it. So, but now you're on to other things. You're on to other things. You've been in the trenches. You've been in the foxhole, as it were.
Yes.
You've been doing a deep dive about the First World War, which is I think is way more interesting and what's the word I'm looking for? The stuff that happened in the First World War affects us more now than the stuff even that happened in the second one. Even though the second one was obviously a lot more people died, it was awful. But the First World War, at the end of it, you have a situation where even in the Middle East, you know, France and Britain just bumble in there and redraw the lines, and they're like, "Oh, this is Jolio. We'll make this thing and that thing," and it just fucks everything up for 120 years. You know, because they're just drunk at a table figuring out what the map should look like. Africa's the same way. You had 3 different empires fall. You had the Romanovs in Russia with the Bolsheviks taking over. You had the Hohenzollerns in Germany. That was gone. You had the Ottoman Empire fall. So, you know, the map of the world looked very different at the end of the war.
Yeah.
But when we were talking today, you were talking about the United States entering the war, and I thought that was interesting. So why don't we start with that? Tell us about like what the U.S. was like before and what the U.S. was like after.
Yeah, I mean, just from the American perspective, I really find World War I fascinating. I mean, yes, these huge empires were battling it out. And note to self, none of them exist now, right? So the war to end all war actually just ended those empires and replaced them with all kinds of other shit that then dominated the 20th century. But, if I think maybe the lesson is if you start a war these days, you're probably not going to come out the other end.
Yeah.
But in any case, yeah, I mean, what's fascinating to me is that, we were famously neutral for an extremely long time, and we were hoping everything would just kind of blow over. And we were making a ton of money shipping stuff over to, England and France because they really couldn't grow their own food anymore and make their own. Everything was about the war effort. And so we were very, very reluctantly drawn into it. And that is, as far as I know, the fact. But the thing to remember that I find fascinating is that we were a backwater in the 19th century. The United States was an absolute backwater. And when we entered World War II, we were barely functioning. We had just embraced industrialization, and we were busy building factories and roads and farms and all that. But actually, we had no highway system. Of course, cars were relatively new, but very few roads were paved outside of, big cities. We had a rail system that was a mess. So it was actually very difficult to actually get munitions and other things over to the East Coast and then ship them. We had very little shipping. I mean, we were a backwater. And so, the idea of mobilizing to come in, to swoop in this backwater, to swoop in and save Europe, and then, manage the peace from the perspective of what America thought of itself, which of course, as we know, was very untrue, right? Because America was actually very busy eating itself up with Jim Crow, with trying to keep down Black people and Jews and Italians and just you name it, right? So, I mean, America was busy destroying itself in the best way that it knows how, through racism. And yet it's fighting overseas in the name of democracy, and then, brokers peace. And so, I mean, one of the things that resonates with me is, of course, the next war is baked into the peace of the previous one. And so when we're talking about Ukraine today and what is happening, which is, there's so many things that I never thought I'd have to live through with my daughter, right? She's 20 years old. Overturn of Roe v. Wade, a land war in Europe. It was beyond my ability to imagine this stuff. But here's where the parallels of World War I think, are really important. We're starting to we have characterized Russia as the villain and Ukraine as the clear victim. And that's probably true. But as we do that, we start to harden alliances. And when we start to harden alliances, we start to look a little bit like how a world war develops. Because China, for example, still wants to talk to Russia, and they have been working out alliances there. And there are other entities that very much want Russian oil, Russian gas, and are treading very lightly and claiming neutrality. And then you have the United States, which, I mean, we know this is wrong, right? We're very much against the invasion of Ukraine. This is absolutely wrong. And you have all these unmilitarized or vaguely militarized countries like Finland and Sweden starting to, say NATO and militarize themselves. So I'm worried.
So it looks to what you're saying, what I hear you saying is it's this hardening of alliances and even just the strengthening of NATO, which needed to happen because that actually was what was under attack first before Ukraine.
Yes.
There was a concerted effort to attack and undermine NATO. People don't quite know that Donald was jumped on that train because it's been a Soviet mission back when it was a Soviet Union, and then the mission of certainly the last 20 years of Vladimir Putin as well, to get rid of NATO. He came back from the 80s talking about doing this after he visited the Kremlin on that fateful trip with his, what is she, Czechoslovakian, whatever thing that wrapped herself around him. So that what I hear you saying is yes, and also this is setting a very familiar stage. And at the heart of it, I also hear you kind of, because so people know that Rachel and I connected because I did this whole thing about like, for the underworld, for organized crime, it really, especially transnational organized crime, it's about the movement of goods.
Right.
You have to be able to move things from point A to point, or you have no business. That's the business. And then we get into data and all that kind of stuff, which is kind of taken over for arms trafficking, is the data trafficking for gangsters, and other kinds of financial crimes. But they're still very much in the business of controlling the distribution of stuff. Mm-hmm. And that really is your expertise, is like studying the history and also the present of how goods get from here to there and what the processes of that is and how vulnerable we are as in terms of the free world to the forces that control that process, that distribution process.
That's right. That's right.
So talk a little bit about that with the grain, with this. It's really freaking me out how Russia it does seem to be an attack on resources, on grain, on possibly seed, on the food supply for a third of the world, right?
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So as we probably know, Ukraine is one of the largest exporters of wheat and of seed oils, seed oils, whatever. No, cottonseed oils, not palm oil, but
sunflower,
sesame oil, sunflower oil, and these are staple items. And the people buying them are people in Africa, people in India, people in China, and so these are major staples that are suddenly getting very expensive and at some points unavailable because of the attack on Ukraine. And so that is destabilizing the world, which also then forces more alliances, right? Like, how far are people going to go? At what point do the people in Lebanon put up with an 86% increase in a staple item before, they overthrow what little government is there at the moment, So it has this just kind of rippling, destabilizing effect everywhere. And so then at some point, people are going to have to choose sides. The other thing that I wanted to talk about vis-a-vis this is just how critical Ukraine is going to become in the next 10, 15, 20, God willing, 20 years. So there's been this theory for a long time about ocean currents. Switching gears a little bit, we're going to start looking at nature. And so as a lot of people probably know, there's the Gulf Stream, which starts in the Caribbean, right? So in the Caribbean, we have nice warm water, and the nice warm Caribbean waters are then pulled up the East Coast, then knocked out of alignment by Cape Cod. I happen to be in Boston right now. So they get knocked out of alignment. So they skip the Gulf of Maine and then wash up around the Arctic, around Iceland, and then over to Northern Europe. And the reason that that's happening is because of salinity. So up in the Arctic, when all the fresh water was frozen, it was very salty up there. The water was very salty because all of the fresh water was frozen in ice. As the ice is melting, there's this huge influx now of fresh water into the system, which scientists believe will result in a slowing down and eventually possibly a reversal of this major ocean current. And ultimately, if that does happen, and I think we're starting to see evidence of it happening, and actually British scientists are very, very much on this, is we call it global warming, but what we're going to see is a freezing of Northern Europe. And when that happens, Ukraine is going to become absolutely vital, right? Because shorter growing seasons. This is exactly, by the way, what happened before during the plague, during the in the 1300s. There was this little ice age phenomenon. We might be seeing that again. This little ice age phenomenon caused by the reversal of ocean currents, and suddenly we start to see northern Europe look a lot like Maine and Boston and northern Canada, which it really should be. I mean, when you look at where it is, a lot of latitudinally, it should be a lot colder than it is, but these ocean currents have been keeping it warm.
Wow.
And so
the Black Death time, what happened was the migratory pattern of the marmot became slightly more southern, and then in Tajikistan, or was it Kazakhstan, I think, one of the two, they found out recently, that's where it jumped species, and a third of the population of the world died because of that. And it's all because of, it's
global
because
cooling.
Of medicine too. Like they were like, oh, let's kill all the cats. They're black cats. They must be bad.
I've seen that, and I don't know. It's hard for me to believe, but yeah, there might be a link between the witches and the cats, and then
killing the cats is bad because the cats kill the rats, and the rats. Like there's all this kind of stuff, but like ultimately, it was climate change that caused the Black Death, and a third of the population. And not only before the death happened, a generation prior, there was 3 years in a row of intense famine. So the generation of people that were alive in the 1340s, the late 1340s, had already been through this horrible thing and had been malnourished throughout their childhoods. So they were especially prone to dying.
Yeah. So what you guys are saying also, to me, where it's landing in my brain is science denying or science ignoramuses have no business doing things like sitting on the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Or running democracy, right? That this is what's did it right in time. This is what's leading. I paused so that we give Rachel more time because she was so.
Oh, you're very sweet. Yeah, I mean, I think the main problem is whoever's in power. I mean, we're looking down the barrel of a very scary gun, maybe a Lebel, with a 3-shot cartridge, which is the French weapon from World War I. But
and now in New York, we're allowed to just carry it around wherever we want.
If you want your Lebel, I think it's like 8 pounds. It's really big. You would look great with one. And the great thing about the Lebel is you can actually stick a saber onto it.
Oh,
right. So when you run out of bullets,
you can do an insurrection.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's
got to have that thing stuck on the end of whatever your stick is, whatever your phallic stick is. They want the pointy part now. And then you go in with the flag and you poop in the halls. This is what we're dealing with. Yeah. Okay, so will you stick around with us a little bit?
I would love to. Yes, this is
okay.
Fun.
Wonderful, because we actually want to go right into that Supreme Court. And what we have is full court press. Okay, Greg, I see you. I see your title now. It's had some. This is the fascist court. The court is the coup, I think, is what I said in my rant at the end of our episode 2 weeks ago, before we took our little break. So I know we've got a lot of folks in the audience that watching this who, this is all we've been talking about, you guys, for 2 weeks. And this thought that with all now that you've just spelled out, Rachel, of what we're going to be looking at for a generation ahead, right? And what our children are going to be facing and what we're leaving them with from the possible world war that we're setting up to kind of get that we're being pulled into, more appropriately said, to the stripping of our rights, to the destruction of the planet with no EPA. Q court. There we go. Nice. So what do we want to say about the court this week? Greg, what do you want to say about the court? There's so much to say about it. What do you want to say about it?
There's a lot of things to say. I'm almost glad we were off last week, because the show just would have been screaming and everyone's mad, and it's going to take a little while for us all to like regather our whatever, People are going to say things that are going to make you mad, and I encourage everybody to just like maybe forget the last week and what people were saying. People were venting, people were angry. We're all on the same page. We're all on the same team. And we should just kind of, remember that and not like be like, I'm not talking to that person ever again because of something he said on Saturday that, people are processing what happened, and what happened to us is awful. It's not the Roe thing. I don't want to minimize the Roe thing. The Roe thing is fucking awful. It's awful. It is the Supreme Court of the United States deciding that women don't matter, saying, fuck women. I hope they die. That is what it is. And anybody that wants to be like, oh, but the fetus and the baby and the blah, blah, blah. You are a fucking moron. That's it. Mark Meadows probably thinks that. Mark Meadows and his 85 IQ thinks that. Okay. This dumb people think that. Anybody with a functional brain in their head knows what this is about. This is about control of women. And it's not just that. It's not just Dobbs. There's the other things too. No more Miranda rights. There's that weird thing that they did. Now the Border Patrol can just like go arrest people and take them away. Okay.
Police state.
And, and they're setting up the police state. That's what they are doing.
Yeah.
So the EPA thing, that's bad enough in light of all our climate change discussion. But like, there's more to it too. That federal versus state is this whole country. The history of the United States is a big tug of war between states' rights and federal rights. And these people wanting to be retrograde and send us hurtling back into a time when, as Elie Mystal, how does he say his name? That book is fantastic, by the way. I read it over the break. It's so good. These guys that wrote this were all white male slave owning,
property owned. Yeah.
Half of them are raping the slaves. Like, they're not the paragons of virtue. Okay. That we should maybe be listening to about race relations 250 fucking years later. It's insanity. Okay. And if you're Clarence Thomas and you want to go back to that time, I don't know what to tell you. If you can't fucking figure it out, I don't know what to tell you. But
he's figured it out.
That time. This is, you asked me what I want to talk about. I'm babbling, but what I want to talk about is this. In that time when the nation was founded, it was all about white men who owned property. So rich white guys, relatively rich white guys. Nobody else counted at all. Women, World War I, law. It was 1920 before women could vote in this country. It's a disgrace. It's a fucking disgrace. Okay. Black people, forget it. Natives, no. Any minority, forget it. The only people that mattered were white guys with money. And a lot of them owned slaves. Okay. So at that time period, I forgot to look up the numbers. The population of the United States was significantly less, obviously, than it is now. What was it? 10 million people tops, something like that. Okay. You're going to have 9 people on the court. And I think it was actually 10 at the beginning, which makes no fucking sense. But you're going to have that many people. Okay. Now the population is 300 times greater and you have the same number. It makes no sense. The only thing that's going to make this go away is for there's too few people that have too much power. Mm-hmm. I don't want to know who all these fucking people are. I want there to be, I don't want 11. I want 81. I want 175. I want so many fucking Supreme Court justices that there's no way that anyone knows who they all are, because then we'll get good rulings. It won't be the whim of one person. And this goes for, if you're a MAGA person watching this, which you're not, but if you are, this goes for you too. You don't want somebody to come in and be like, okay, we're just, we're going to go affirmative action to the nines. There's something you might not agree with that a court would, that somebody's personal bias would impact. We don't want that. We want that not to be a factor. It's common sense. 9 people. And these fucking right-wing assholes figured this out years ago. And they spent the last, 4 decades getting to the point where we are now. And the point we are now is we're going to get rid of the New Deal. We're going to get rid of all federal power, and we're going to hurl ourselves back into the 19th fucking century. Unless a law impacts Clarence Thomas personally, then it's okay.
But here's the thing, the Supreme Court wasn't even really a thing until mid 19th century. Like the idea that it was there to determine whether or not laws were constitutional is like an evolution of a practice, right? They didn't even have the Supreme Court when these guys, so Clarence Thomas wouldn't even have a job. I don't want to go there. Obviously he wouldn't have a job. But I mean, the idea that
he'd have a different job.
that these guys are the arbiters of the constitutionality of various laws is a relatively new concept and not an originalist concept at all.
No, it's not. It comes from Marbury versus Madison. Marbury versus Madison established judicial review. That ain't in the fucking Constitution. Maybe we need to look at that. Maybe we need to be like, you know what, SCOTUS? Maybe Governor Hochul in New York needs to say, you know what, fuck you. We're enforcing our laws no matter what.
Yeah.
You know? And then what happens?
She's kind of doing that. And so what I'm taken aback by was that everybody was caught off guard. So that takes me aback. And that worries me more than anything else. I was with you, Greg, on a live broadcast when we knew that Ruth Bader Ginsburg had passed away.
Yep.
And I instantly burst into tears, and it just came out of my mouth in that very second. It's like, they're going to, Rose gone. How could you not know what they have been? Why doesn't anyone believe the mouthpieces, the beasts of the right-wing media sphere that have been trumpeting since the 1980s clearly what their intentions were? Overturn Roe, get rid of Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. Now we know this whole weirdness that's been going on for a while. The dark money, right? Over getting the dark money. Well, what is that about when you allow dark money to flood into politics and you say businesses are people? And what is Citizens United really about? It's now we can see clearly what it's about. It's about the ability to completely do away with the administrative state and also push the decision making on elections, push federal election results down to individual states and empower those states to just throw out a bunch of votes if they don't like the result. If the state legislature decides, yeah, we don't want Democrats winning this, so we're gonna redo our election and we're gonna pick our alternate state of electors. So this whole thing that seems like it was like throwing spaghetti on the wall with Donald and his the Rudy and Sidney Powell and the two different factions, because you had the Eastman and that group over there and all of this stuff, and Ginny Thomas that looked like they were just doing anything and fleeing at the last minute. Now we know there's cases that have been crafted by the Republican Attorney General's Association in those state legislatures and within those states, probably funded out of the Federalist Society. We know that have been sitting there, been weaving and snaking and working their way up the docket to get presented in front of the Supreme Court just in time for the next big federal election, so that everything that they were doing that we're all going, oh my God, it's illegal, you can't do that, is now going to become legal. And folks aren't awake to this. It's coming in the fall. It's coming up. When they resume, they are taking this up. And if you think that court is going to say, no, this is an overreach, when they've just told me that I don't have rights over my own body, and nor does my daughter, nor does any other woman, that the state actually has a right over our body. You think that they're going to suddenly wake up and do something different? No, they're going to keep doing this. They're destroying democracy. The court is the coup. All right. It's depressing.
No,
alarm went off, but that's it.
It doesn't matter. This is important, and I think we need to keep restating it. Like, that's what they want. The end game is that. The end game is they can throw away the votes.
So the question becomes,
they have thrown out all the voter suppression stuff.
Yeah.
They keep throwing it away and making it easier. Right. The gerrymandering things got thrown out. So we're on a path, like in a place like Hungary, as Bryn Tannehill talks about, and she's had great threads about this. We're on a path to Hungary where we will have elections and they will all be bullshit and predetermined. And just elections that exist so that people can say that they were elected when it's all a bunch of fucking crap. And I don't know, it's impossible. I think
minority rule, because the federal courts have abdicated the Constitution. They've just said the Constitution isn't something that we're here to actually pay attention to or rule on.
and I don't know what's going to happen. Like if that's the alternative, or if it's that, like I said, what if New York is like, fuck you, anybody can come here and get an abortion, and if you have a weapon that is concealed and we catch you with it, we're going to arrest you and put you in jail. What's the federal government going to do? The flip side of that is that Mississippi and Alabama could do the same things, but for things that we don't agree with.
Well, I mean, the Civil War is still being fought, obviously, and I really think a lot of this is rooted in white supremacy, which is inextricably linked to misogyny. And part of the reason that they would love to roll back women's rights, I think, is because they blame women for FDR. So, Greg, you mentioned that, women got the right to vote in 1920. 4 times FDR was elected as president, 10 years after, a couple of, decade or so after women got the right to vote. So, I mean, like, women are the problem. Black citizens are the problem.
For them.
Yes.
Yeah, but we're also the majority.
Yeah,
we're also the majority. So then it becomes, we go into our last segment, which everybody was, so what are we going to do about it?
Wait.
What are the Dems doing about this?
Before
we have a special guest.
Okay, good.
We have a special guest, everybody. So folks that follow me on Twitter and then have figured out, because it took a while, we were very quiet about it, for like, this is my dad.
Oh, wow.
Wait, he's behind the 8 ball. He's literally behind the 8 ball.
Oh my God! Don't. Here,
Wait, I think I know how to fix it. I know how to fix it. Hold on, I'm gonna remove myself.
Behind the 8 ball.
Come a little closer.
Okay, now he's not behind the 8 ball.
Now he's not. So this is the Rev.
Hi.
The Rev is here.
Hi,
Reverend
Rev.
Jeffrey Black.
I've been listening. This has just simply been a wonderful conversation to listen to, although I'm sort of wondering whether I ought to throw myself out the window and give up. But it's just been so bright.
Where do you vote, sir? We need you.
Wait, what?
I said, where do you vote, sir? We need you.
Well, I have a thought that might be the beginning of a little hope. And it's this. There's a connection between this abortion issue and the whole threat that is severe and yet still largely hidden to our democracy. And it's this: your skin. It's a thing to think about, to determine about, is your skin. The power of the state stops at the skin. It has to. If it doesn't, that's the deepest thing about the abortion, is that that's a law about what you are going to be forced to do inside your skin. Mm-hmm. And government has no business there at all, unless it's with the deliberate voted consent of the government, so you can have like healthcare and stuff. But what I think and how I feel inside my skin, I do not yield that territory to anybody. And that's a fury we have to start feeling, is that these minority of right-wing, white, old men.
That you're not right-wing.
I'm not. But their hubris, their extravagant, unconscious megalomania is, I get to decide what's inside of you. No, I don't. Nobody does that for me, and nobody does that to you. And so so the commitment is, I am not going to surrender one bit of my inner life to these assholes. That's my deal.
There it is.
Amen.
That's the Rev. F yes. Oh, look.
I have no more Manhattan left, but
there we go.
Yeah.
Here we got some. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Excellent.
Oh, well, so what are the Dems to do?
Okay.
Because unfortunately, it's a two-party system. So let's start that. And we keep looking to our leadership. I've been doing a lot of ranting on Twitter the last couple of days because Greg and I have a refrain, and it's consistent across the board. Talk to us, talk to us, talk to us, talk to us. Whether it's the Justice Department, whether it's our leadership, one another, are the experts in the field, like you, Rachel, keep talking, talk. Because right now, everything happens in words. It's all decided in words. And in the information sphere, in the social discourse, we have been yielding way too much ground for way too long. We can say that we kind of, the sort of the liberal-minded, pro-democracy part of the population has been leading in the culture and kind of, quote unquote, won the culture war, which is why they waged it against us. But they're waging that war that way because it allows them to hijack the discourse, and they get to run the narrative. And if you're in control of the narrative, you're shaping people's minds for all across the board. So put a pin in that. The other thought to maintain in this, when we're sort of saying, what do we want from our leadership, is not only for them to grab the narrative, grab our attention, have a concise, clear, cohesive, unified messaging strategy so that people know, okay, we'll show up and vote. We'll vote in droves in November, but what are you going to do when we give you the vote? Because we gave you the vote before and you didn't expand the Supreme Court, and that you made that promise. So talk about the threats that we're up against. They need to talk about that along with what they're going to do about it. If you give us this, we will do X, Y, and Z. And we also need to say, this is why we haven't done A, B, and C, even though there's plenty of experts saying that we can do this. This is why we're not doing it. I want them called to the carpet on why they're not expanding this. Why isn't Joe Biden expanding the Supreme Court right now? Why? Tell us why you're not doing it. I understand because Sheldon Whitehouse let it out, why they're not codifying Roe into laws, because it's stuck in the Senate. They don't have the votes to go around the filibuster because Manchin and Sinema will stop it. Okay? So those two fuckers are keeping us from having a law that everybody wants, right? And that is critical to every single, the party platform, or it should be. I know that there was even talk back 4 years ago of like, maybe we should embrace pro-life candidates. And several of us go, no, no. That's not the way to win. Okay, so that brings me to the other thing. There is no magical unicorn, independent, centrist voter that you need to sway, and that the Dems are fearful that they're going to lose this magical unicorn voter if they actually come out strong and start hitting back hard with messaging, with actual moves in legislature to put a stop and put reins on this fucking out of control radical Supreme Court. You know how I know that? Because I'm the independent, centrist unicorn. That was me. 6 years ago. Proudly independent, not part of the Democrat Party. Never would go near a Republican Party anyway. But I enjoyed not labeling myself and being free to feel like I could make a decision that wasn't bound to a party loyalty. Okay? That's me. Guess what? I want you to knock their fucking teeth out. Please put on some fucking brass knuckles and hit these people hard. Put them back. I'm the one saying, shame them back under their fucking rocks. So the magical unicorn that everyone's so afraid of, oh my God, if we go hard, if we do these things, we'll lose these voters that we really need. You're going to lose me if you don't do it. That's how you lose, is if you show that you really are just paralyzed. They have a lot right now. We have the power. I'm calling myself a we. I won't call myself a we with them if they refuse to use it. I'm not afraid of power. I'm not afraid of using it. I'm not afraid of people using it on my behalf and on the behalf of others that have no choice, that have no power, that need people with power to use it on their behalf. Stop being afraid of your own fucking power. or we won't give it to you anymore. We're not giving it to you so you can be too afraid to fucking touch it. And if you want to come to the carpet and ask us to keep giving you this power, tell us what you're going to do with it and do it.
Yeah.
Commit en masse in a unified manner. That is the message that needs to get to the Dem leadership, and they can start doing it. Today was actually a very good step. Joe Biden held a live conference call with blue state governors about what to do with these regressive anti-abortion laws that are going into place now in other states. And it was fantastic. Keep doing it. I liked it. It was kind of a classroom setting. He was sitting at a desk. He was talking to people. I fucking loved it. Give that to me every day. Shoot that into my veins. Right? That's what we need. That's my rant.
That was great. That was great. I agree with every word. And I just want to say, we all know we have to vote blue in November. Duh. But just because we do that doesn't mean we're not allowed to criticize the people that are in power. Okay?
Right.
Joe Biden is a great president, in my opinion. He is the best president of my lifetime, in my opinion. Other people disagree with me, but he's fucked up a lot of things. He has.
Yeah.
Okay? This Garland thing, bad pick. Sorry. It's bad pick. I'm not saying he should go away. Maybe something good will happen. Not a good pick. Not the right guy for the job. That was a misfire. Might cost us the democracy that we enjoy, but whatever. So there's misfires. It's impossible to be president and not make major mistakes. FDR is one of the 3 best presidents we've had. He put Japanese citizens in internment camps during the Second World War. That was bad. You know, there's a lot of things that he did that were fucking bad.
Boats of Jewish immigrants fleeing.
Yes.
Sent them back.
Them around. Sent them
Be
back
killed.
because, awful.
Because he was too fucking cowardly. Because he was still afraid of his power.
Yeah, he was afraid of his power, and he used the power better than anybody.
Yeah.
And look, on my site, on Prevail, on this show with ULB, we have tried to advance ideas, creative ideas that Democrats can use to use the fucking power. Okay. Lisa Kerr on my page a while ago, before the election, wrote a piece about how, hey, Kamala Harris is the president of the Senate now. She could just walk in there, pick up the gavel and be like, fuck the filibuster. We're voting on this now.
Right.
Bam. And just do it. It's never been attempted before. And that's why they're all like, well, I don't know. Parliamentary. Fuck it. Fuck it. Chuck Schumer is not going to save us. Try something new. And I want to say also, on Tuesday on Prevail, my man, Moscow Never Sleeps, wrote a piece that I read while I was on vacation. I was chortling. I was guffawing at this thing, but it's fucking brilliant about what we can do to take the Senate back. Not in November, right fucking now. Right now. That's going to run on Tuesday. That's the sort of shit. People have to get creative. The Democratic leadership needs to get creative and understand this is an existential threat here. This is, we're no longer playing parliamentary games with bullshit. These people, if they take over, if DeSantis is president in 2024, we are fucked. I mean, you, me, LB, we are absolutely fucked.
Well, they're rounding us up. Rachel can tell you. What else happens in these wars? What do? They fucking round people up.
Yeah, sedition laws.
Yeah, they do. So here's the thing. This isn't reach. George Hahn even tweeted this out today, which is great. And he usually tries to play. He's so. I love George so much, but he said, this is not the reach across the aisle time. That shit, that's done. That's over. Yeah. I don't want to hear that out of anyone in Democratic leadership. That we're reaching across the aisle. We have to build consensus. Yeah. No. This is raw power time. Find it, use it. That's it. This is it. This is because the court is doing it. And I do think that everyone finally is like, oh, wait a minute. Oh my God, it really is a fascist fucking thing that's happening. Oh, we are really being destroyed. Oh, this is the end of democracy if we don't do something about it. I do think that there's the wake-up call has happened. I do think there's a sense of urgency. I think there's a lack of creativity and a lack of will. Because of fear. And whatever it takes for us, I think our job also is not only to show up and vote, but is to share slap the fuck out of all these motherfuckers every chance we can in the discourse and say, get your shit together. Get it together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it. Because, I mean, if you don't, I think that, I think we're all doomed. But hey, no pressure.
No pressure.
It's all good.
I promise we'll keep trying to write songs.
Joe Biden isn't fucking Mark Meadows, okay? He's not Mark Meadows. He knows what the fuck he's doing, and he has the gumption to succeed in this role. And I think he's figuring it out slowly, maybe. I hope. But this thing today
really
is good.
would be nice to have representative government. I mean, I think that's the heart of the matter. The South will continue to win as long as we have the Electoral College and don't have representative government.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that, because we know the will of the people. Polls have been telling us over and over and over again exactly where we're heading from a cultural and political standpoint. Like, the kids are awake. They know what they want.
Yeah.
And they know what battles they really want to fight. I mean, they're very aware of climate change, and there's no question about what's happening in the world to them. So all this is just theater for them. Yeah. They want to get to the real stuff. So, I mean, we need representative government, and we need it now so that the will of the people can be heard.
That's right.
Yeah. Yep.
Thanks, Dad.
All right.
Well, hey, my assemblyman in New York, who had been serving for like 20-something fucking years, got voted out in the primary, got primaried out by Sarah Hanna, who's a Nepali American socialist democratic social, whatever the word is, for the good thing that the Bernie people have co-opted. So I think this is a good thing. And, it's a tiny little thing. But here in my district, we're happy about it. We're happy about it. Everybody I voted for in the New York primary won. Boom.
Good. Boom.
Yeah.
More of that.
Lieutenant Governor's been in my kitchen. He did. It's true. Okay. So I want to hear what everybody's Twitter handles are. Who doesn't have the Twitter handles on the screen? Reverend Black. What is it? Rev Jeff Black. What is your Twitter handle?
Rev Jeff Black at.
No, you're giving your email. Okay. Hang on. Let me help Dad.
People can have that too. People can write you. That's all good.
I'm gonna give it. Hang on. Go ahead, Rachel. Yeah,
Rachel, what's your
Oh my God, I had to look mine up. It's Rachel Slade 1.
It is.
Wait, isn't there an underscore? Is there an underscore or no?
No, nothing fancy. Just Rachel Slade 1. That's me.
Rachel Slade
the
1.
one, the only.
Is there? But wait,
there's only one Rachel Slade, except the other one in Australia, who seems to be running the Australian bank system. But other than her, there's me.
For you.
Oh my God, that's like some kind of Nabokov novel where
I know, right?
You go there and take over the global finance.
All right, and Dad's Twitter is Dad's Twitter. A lot of our audience follows him already, but it's at Jeff JEFF Black BLACK 945, and you see Rev Jeff Black, and I think the picture is of you with a bunch of
my colleagues,
with your colleagues and your cat.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
All the fluffy furry animals.
All Hellcats. Okay. Yeah. Do we have any more announcements or anything? I think
we're done with the announcements. I think it's been a great show. Yeah. I will try to put some of you guys' comments up there in the end credits. I wanted to just put a little note on. I hope everybody caught the new little animation. We might have little surprises like that going on. We finally got John Eastman in there doing the fifth. So we didn't do our fifth today. So fifth, everybody, drink.
Fifth.
Can I just
forget our drinking
plug
game?
My next book? It's not.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we were allowed to.
I don't know if we're allowed to plug your book, so you do it.
I'm not plugging. I'm just letting folks know that if you do enjoy Into the Raging Sea, and I really hope that you do, which is about a container ship, but so much more. My next book is going to be looking at the question of domestic manufacturing, American manufacturing. Can we do this? Can we make stuff here? Can we? And why it's important. And it's really exploring that huge, big question about how we ended up where we are, not making shit, and how we can get back to making shit, which we really need to do at this point, because as we've been discussing, the geopolitical landscape is getting ever scarier. And we don't want to be forced into making alliances with bad actors because we depend on them.
Wait, when is this book coming out? Do we know?
Like a year.
Okay.
So
Did you finish it?
Patience Friends.
Is it done?
I did write a draft.
You wrote a draft? Okay, because I remember you told me about this months ago. This is a fascinating fucking book, by the way. Just really good. Like, let me know as soon as that's up.
I will, and I can't wait to tell you more. And I'll come back on. I can't wait to just expound. But in any case, I'm just dropping a little.
I think
little
so.
treat there.
Well, I think the big thing about what you're talking about and what you do is there are creative solutions. First, you have to understand the system and actually who it's serving. And once you get that, then you can come up with a creative solution if you don't want to be serving those people.
That's right.
If we don't want to be aligned with those people. So
serving the American people. Aren't all systems serving the American people? Just more, all of us? Like a big, oh, right. No, never mind.
Oh, right. No, not anymore.
That's the whiskey talking.
Okay. Okay. It's time. You guys, this has been so great. I'm thrilled. I think we're back. We're still here next week, right, Greg?
We're here
Is
next
someone
week.
leaving? I'm leaving towards the end of July, but I might be able to be on the road.
I may be going again. Maybe I'll stay up late. I don't know. Maybe
Okay, so you're going to possibly be somewhere, and we're going to have to rally you.
Oh God, no! But it's going to be shitty Wi-Fi. Maybe
All
Jordan's
right.
have good Wi-Fi. I don't know.
All right, listen, we'll let everybody know on Twitter what's happening.
I don't like to give out my whereabouts because
No, I know you don't.
I'm
not going to do that either.
It's my one concession to my own inflated sense of self-importance, which is it's ridiculous. It's non-existent.
The more going.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Grand Canyon.
Well, that's your skin, so you don't let anybody into your skin.
That's right. I like the skin thing. I think that has legs.
Maybe.
Just to go with the body part theme. All right, I'm going to get myself in trouble. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you to our guests, Rachel Slade. Again, Into the Raging Sea is the book that exists now. That everybody who's buy this now. Just go buy it and read it. Trust me.
It's a great book.
It's really, really good.
It's so wonderful.
Reverend Jeff Black, excellent to see you. Glad to see that you're with her. That makes me happy. Everybody else, thanks for watching, and we will see you next week.